Okay, I'm going to start the recording right now. We haven't said anything important yet, so. Okay. We'll go ahead and get started. It's a few minutes after 7, and I think what we'll do is just kind of go over some of the key components of the class, and we'll entertain any questions that you all have, and then I'll post this to the website, and anybody that needs to can go over it. I see that Mark has signed on. Hey, Mark. Mark, are you muted? You must be muted. You must be muted and invisible. Well, hey, Mark, anyway. So we've got Sean and Sadana and Jessica and Donna and Mark, as I can see right now. Okay. Mark, did you just come on?
There we go.
Hey there. How are
Hello.
you? Hey.
I'm good.
Good to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, it has.
I'm glad you're still sticking with us. That's good.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
That's
yeah.
good. And I guess I'll see you in the testing class this fall, won't I?
Yes, that's. I at least have you for one class I know. So yeah.
That's good. Okay, you're going to dig in. The other people on the call right now, 3 of them have already had the testing classes, and they're diving in as diagnosticians in the fall, most of them. And
Cool.
Then Donna Baumgartner is one of our instructors here at the university, and she's working on a doctorate now, and she's getting her special ed hours in. So that's who's on the call right now. And Mark is a special educator in the Fort Worth ISD at the campus where my kids went to school and where my husband used to be a teacher. So I feel a connection with him, whether he feels it with me or not. So
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll go ahead and dive in. And tonight we're just going to talk a little bit about some of the course objectives and the requirements of the class. And then we'll get more into content in the next few weeks. And Mark, as I was just saying to the ladies on the call, you don't have to sign into any of these calls. They'll all be posted to the web, but I'd welcome you to if you want to. And we'll have some discussion each time. If I can switch over to a screen that will give me let's see. Nope, that's not it. Just a second. My Blackboard. If I can do that, let's see. Yeah, there we go. Can y'all see that?
Not yet.
You don't see my Blackboard?
Not yet.
Okay, let's see. What do you see? Do you see me?
We see each other and not you anymore.
Yeah. And not me
Can
anymore.
you click share screen at the bottom?
Let me try that.
Now we see
you again.
Now you see me again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I haven't done this in a year. I haven't done a Zoom in a year, and I think I have forgotten some of the things to touch. Oh, fiddle. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Screen. Well, let me just walk you through this verbally, and then we'll see if I can get better at this next time. How's that? On your Blackboard page, you'll know that out of the assignments that we have for this course, we've got a discussion board each week. And we have those. Well, what I did do this week, I went ahead and posted that calendar on the bottom of the Getting Started page, I believe it is. And you've got that now where you can see it, a course calendar at a glance. And you'll see if you look at that, it's a little spreadsheet kind of a page. And when you open that, we've got a discussion board every week. And then you've got an activity every other week. And so we'll have 4 activities. We'll have a discussion board every week. We'll have a quiz every week except the last one. That last week is just 2 or 3 days, going from I believe it's the 5th of August through the 8th of August. And so that week is very abbreviated. But that week we won't have a discussion board. We won't have a quiz. Every week leading up to that, we'll have a discussion board and a quiz. Every other week leading up to that, we'll have an activity. And then we have these 3 other activities, assignments, if you will, between now and then that will be spaced out leading up to the end of the course. We have a choice assignment, which is due about the middle of the semester. We have a paper, which is due a couple of weeks after that. And then we have a group assignment, which is due that very last week. And you can see all of those when you look at that course calendar at a glance. And so we'll get a little bit more into those last 3 assignments in the next couple of weeks and how those will be designated. You'll get some direction on that choice assignment and on your research paper as to what those topics will be as we move along here in the next couple of weeks. The quizzes, you have your first one this week. It's 15 questions. It's mostly over the well, it is over the chapters that you'll be reading, just kind of hitting the major points, the most critical elements. And so reading your textbook, hit those high points. We're not going to be testing over what I would consider minutia. You're going to be looking at those things that are the most important things, the high points in those chapters. And those quizzes will be multiple choice and true false. You'll have 30 minutes to go through those 15 questions. And I don't think those will be anything that you can't find the answers to pretty quickly from your reading. And there's nothing there that's meant to trip you up. The discussion boards are for the students that we didn't do many discussion boards in our previous classes, did we? I didn't do much of those, but you've done some of those in other classes. I know with Dr. Moore, you've done that. These discussion boards are designed for you to look into some research into the topics. I don't know if you all have dug into the assignments this week yet or not, but what I want you to do is watch the video that's part of this week's assignment. It's very gripping if you haven't already looked at it, about quality of life. I don't know how many of you have worked with this kind of population yet. I think some of you may have with the more low incidence disabilities. Some of you have had little or no exposure to this population. And those of you who are working to become diagnosticians, which many of you are in this class, will have exposure to these students in that field of work. Whether you've worked with that type of student before or not, that will be part of your caseload. If you're looking to go on to a more advanced study or advanced work in the field of special education, you'll come across those students in whatever type of advanced work you do. If you're a coordinator in special education, if you're a director of special education, if you're in higher ed with special education, you'll have students of all those disability types on your caseload or under your purview. And so you'll need to have exposure to those types of disabilities and all the things that come along with them. And so I think some of these assignments will be really helpful to you as you dig in. But particularly if you've been on the general ed side of things exclusively, you'll find some of these topics to be very insightful to you as you go along. But the discussion boards will call for you to, first of all, take the topic that's been put forward, and then to do some research of your own, whether it's through the textbook or through websites or other literature, and come up with a thesis of your own in order to answer the question, and then put some of your effort into citing some sources. Now, it doesn't have to be too many sources. One good one is good. A couple of sources is excellent, and 3 sources is over the top. So try to come up with at least one good source, and then cite your source in your answer, and then at the bottom you need to reference your source. There is a link at the bottom of your instructions for discussion boards on this assignment today, for this week, on exactly how to do that if you're not real sure about appropriate APA form. There is a link to the Purdue online resource about APA. I think most of you have had some exposure in your previous classes about APA, and if you haven't, look at that Purdue resource, and if you can't make heads or tails of it, contact me and I'll help steer you a little bit more. But you do need to use those resources. You are going to have a research paper in this course where you'll need to use appropriate APA format as well. Now, your discussion board, there's a rubric that goes along with that, and it's attached to the discussion board site in this course, and you'll need to look at that. There's a timeline for appropriately getting the number of points that you'll want if you want to maximize. You'll need to post your initial response, and then you've got to respond to a class member or 2 with some additional responses throughout the week. So you've got to make your initial post. I think it's by Wednesday, and then you've got to respond to other people by the end of the week with those secondary responses. So make sure that you look at the rubric and you see what gains you the most number of points that you need for your maximum number of points on the discussion board. Now, the discussion board, like I said, happens every week, and even in the weeks when you don't have an activity due, you'll want to make sure that you make the most of your discussion board. Like I said, you have a quiz every week. Sorry. Until that last week, and then we've got our puppy dogs around tonight, don't we? That's good. And then we've got, like I said, an activity every other week. I think that you will not find the course to be oppressive as far as workload is concerned. I want you to be able to embed some of the concepts into your psyche, and not be overwhelmed with a lot of busy work. I want you to be able to read the chapters and to really soak some of that content in, and respond in a thoughtful way to the prompts on the discussion board, in the activities as well, and then the activities to be something that you put some good thought into, and respond to those in a way that's meaningful to you. I want you to think through those activities in a way that is different than it would be for a student who is at the undergrad level. Remember that you're looking to that next level of service to students with disabilities, whether you're looking to become a diagnostician or a coordinator, or you're going into higher ed, or special education administration, whatever that might be, you're looking to serve at a higher level of service than that of a special education teacher. And so you need to be starting to think in a broader way than that of a teacher. And that's what I want you to do with each one of these assignments. Think in a more global way, beyond the classroom, in a way that is bigger than that. And so in this first assignment, this activity that goes along with Unit 1, you have a couple of choices, whether you look at the way we plan for paraprofessionals, or the way we plan for interacting with related service personnel. You may have some experience with that in your previous experiences, or you may not. But reflect on that and think in that bigger picture way. Okay? Y'all might want to mute yourselves if, is that me that's making all that noise? Can y'all hear
I think
that?
it's Karen.
Okay, y'all just mute yourselves if you've got a lot of extraneous noise going on at home, okay? Because that's all getting picked up on the recording.
Oh, I thought I was already muted. Sorry.
It's okay, just mute. There we go. I think that's better. There we go. Okay, so we've talked about discussion board. We've talked about the course calendar. We've talked about, let's see, the activities. We'll have a group assignment that we work on a little bit later in the semester, and I'll assign you to various groups, hopefully with people who have some similarities in their focus work-wise. I'll get a little bit more information about each of you and hopefully group you with other like-minded folks work-wise as we get a little bit further into the semester. So don't worry about that just yet. You could start thinking now about your choice assignments, start putting some ideas together as far as that's concerned, and we'll get those ideas flowing. You have to run those by me, and we'll talk a little bit more about that next. These things worked out, just one of our housekeeping things, because that's a lot of noise that's going on.
Am I still not muted?
No. Okay, you're muted now. Okay, that's kind of a run through of the general overview of the course. What questions might some of you have? Anybody? And this is where you have to unmute if you've got a question.
Nobody chiming in. Okay, Dr. Cavin,
Yes, ma'am.
On the paper that's
Yes,
due, I don't, Sunday. Okay, so in discussing or in questioning for the question, if I was to say that on the paraprofessional side that there more training was definitely needed, I could actually cite, say, sending them for training, arranging for times, working with the actual general ed teacher, or online trainings, or can I use a combination of all three as the actual plan?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever you think is a good plan, then just have some reasons why and some justification as to why that's a good plan.
Okay, because I was thinking of when I was in the classroom as a gen ed teacher and the problems that I went through and what I dealt with with having paraprofessionals in my course. I mean, what I read where they were talking about the things that are happening with paraprofessionals, I saw everything.
Mhm.
You know, our paraprofessionals are not trained to deal with this. The teachers are more trained, but the paraprofessionals are working one-on-one.
Absolutely. And that's what happens a
There's
lot. We put our paras in the position to do a lot of our instruction, and they're not trained.
exactly. And yet I was lucky enough that I brought them in only when I needed them because I had the special education background. So I was able to work with my cerebral palsy kids, my low ID kids, my high ID kids, whatever the case may be, that were in my classroom as a gen ed, as an inclusive classroom. If I didn't need them, they were gone and able to go work with others.
Mhm.
Because I didn't want to keep them in my classroom, so the kids became dependent on them.
Right.
And I noticed that was happening in many ways.
I think you can certainly look back on your own experiences and add those in, but you want to have some research to back all that up.
Okay.
Hi, Tara. I see you've joined.
Hi, Dr. Cavin.
Nice to quote, see you. Other questions? Now, your discussion board for this week, like I said, requires that you watch the quality of life video first, which I think is really very engaging. And then you've got to refer to your chapter 2 in your book, that second table. I think it's on page 26 of the book. And you look at that table of that model of inclusion and functional instruction, the features of the inclusion and functional instruction model. And then you make some assumptions and some comparisons with Jill, the student, the young woman who's in the video, and you make some comparisons about that student with that model in chapter 2. And so when you do that, I think it'll make for a very interesting discussion, given the video and some of the things that we observe there with the quality of life. Unfortunately, some of the things that are there in that video are all too common in what we see in today's world. Hopefully, not as common as I might fear, but unfortunately, those situations do occur out there in the world. So I think it'll make for some interesting discussion when we've all seen it and can comment on it on our discussion board.
And that's due tonight by midnight, correct?
The first post, yeah.
Okay.
And then we'll have some response to one another.
Right. Okay.
Other
I
questions?
have a quick question.
Yes, Mark.
And maybe this is not the time to ask something like this, but I'm just curious, especially from that video, the medication issue. Here's my question. You know, medication, obviously that's more a medical doctor thing, right?
Right.
Have you, in your experience and being a school official, you know, what have you ever spoken to in an ARD meeting or something regarding that? I guess, would it just be simply, here's what we're observing from the students, not necessarily saying, in other words, I guess, is it ever appropriate to comment about medication, or what should that, what place should that take in a meeting? Is this making sense?
Sure.
Because it is in the realm of medical, it's not
Yeah.
educational necessarily.
I think it's appropriate for school personnel to say the impact that they observe medication to have. If they believe that that the medication is having a particular impact on a student from their observation. You know, if they can document observation, then it's certainly appropriate to say that. Now, I don't think it's appropriate to say, now we think that X med is doing this or that. But, you know, if they see that the child on medication does this or off medication does that, then it's certainly appropriate to say, in our observation, you know, seizures are more frequent with this medication or less frequent with that medication, you know, that sort of thing. If you can document something very objectively, it's very appropriate to make that known, because we're with children an awful lot throughout the school day. And that sort of information is very valuable to families. But I think it's important to be extremely objective in the way we document those sort of things and then share them with families. We don't want to get into the issue of, you know, just giving opinions about things. So you've got to make sure that that we're, you know, like I say, extremely objective in the way we share that information.
Thank you.
If you haven't watched well, I guess most of you have watched the video. I hope that you have at this point, because you need to be doing your posts on that by now. But it's just, I thought it was just a really, really noteworthy video to add to our body of knowledge on this topic. Anybody have any other thoughts on it that you want to share right now? Well, we can get into that in our discussion post then. You'll may be watching it after this and then doing your discussion posts before midnight. So.
And I admit I'll be one, because I didn't realize it was posted. I've already watched the video.
Yeah.
I've already watched that, but I didn't realize the discussion post was there, and I kept wondering when was it coming, and
Yeah.
I missed it. So
It's okay.
I will get that. I'll get that posted.
Yeah. Anybody else? Any questions
Well,
that you? Go ahead.
I just wanted to make a general comment that you're not the first class that I've watched a dang video and I'm like, this stupid video. And I call it stupid because it makes me cry. It makes me, you know, I'm not saying I cry like tears coming down, but it makes me emotional when you see some of these things. And you know, our line of work, you feel for these kids, you know, you want the best for these kids. So, but it was a good video. It was good food for thought. It was clearly, I don't want to say biased, but it was showing one side.
Oh yeah.
You know, but it seems to be relatively credible, you know. So anyway. Well,
and I think that the notion that the student was impregnated while in the care of an institution is alarming, but unfortunately it's not totally outlandish. I have a good friend who has a daughter who is not unlike the young woman Jill in the video. And it was a huge issue for their family a few years ago as to what measures to take about her reproductive health. And it was a big deal for their family. And they did determine for her to have a hysterectomy. They struggled with that decision a great deal. But they did make that decision, and I think it was a wise one. She's in a group home in Fort Worth, and she sees the family every weekend. She comes home every weekend, but she does live in a group home during the week. She's about 27 or 8 now, and she's been in a group home for about 18 years, I guess, about 10 years since she, no, maybe less than that. I think she stayed at home until she aged out of the public school setting in the Fort Worth ISD. And then went into the group home when she aged out. So she probably aged out at 22. So she's probably been in the group home for 6 or 7 years, something like that. But it was a big decision for their family to go with, you know, a sterilization. But I think it probably was what was best in this case. And you don't know what happens 24 hours a day for your family member, unfortunately. But you know, those are the kind of things that I think are just very, very scary for everyone involved. And I don't envy the position that they're in as parents of a young woman who does not have the mental faculties to make those kinds of decisions on her own. I think that part of this video that we watched for this class, you know, some of it's very tragic. The psoriasis on her body that I think apparently resulted from some of the care that she did or didn't receive is tragic. So, you know, the suffering that she may have had as a result of that is very sad to me. But and the way her mom reacted whenever she was asked about when she took her child to the institutional setting, and she just refused to discuss it. I think that was very telling as well. So I just, you know, would not or could not talk about those circumstances. Very, very interesting there as well. So all of that, I think, gives us food for thought as educators, and the things that we can do to help families along this very difficult road that they have to travel. Other comments, remarks? Anybody? Questions about the layout of the class? If you come up with anything that you think of that you want to ask about after the fact, please feel free to contact me. I don't usually pay a lot of attention to the email function in Blackboard. I much more regularly check the email function just on my regular Tarleton email. I forget about the one in Blackboard. So don't rely on that to reach me. Reach out through my regular Tarleton email, or feel free to call me. I think most of you have my cell number. I'm only here in the office on Wednesdays this summer, but feel free to contact me on my cell number, and I'll be available through that. I don't know if that's on the syllabus or not, but if it's not, jot it down right now if you'd like. All the people who've been in my class already have that. So if you're new to my class, jot it down right now. That would probably be Karen and Mark. I think you may be the only ones that haven't had me yet. So 817-343-9183. And as I tell my students, contact me anytime. And if I don't want to talk to you, I won't answer. So I'll get back with you later.
You know, I have it. I text you every day, I think.
That's right. And that's okay. I'm perfectly fine with that. So feel free to do that. And Mark and Karen, as you get deeper into your program, you'll realize that we'll be in touch a lot. So, and you can talk to Sadana or Sean or Jessica, all of whom are on the call right now, and they're all a year ahead of you too. And they'll tell you what it's like down the road a little bit. So, and Donna's just a faculty member here, and she's not part of that rat race that y'all are in, and she's probably glad about it. So anyway, any other concerns or questions? Anybody? If not, I guess
No, but I'll share my rat race with them.
Your rat race is totally different. You're on that other one.
Yeah, it is.
And that little hamster wheel called a doc program. So,
Yeah.
okay, well then we'll sign on again next next Wednesday night at 7 for anybody that wants to. Don't feel like you have to, but we will be more content specific next week, looking at some of the things that are specific to the chapters and the course and things like that. We'll talk about some of the more specific assignments, the choice assignments, the research assignment. And if you can't sign on, just get on later and look at the webinar. After the fact, it'll be posted online, or contact me with specific questions. Okay. Anybody else?
I don't know if we'll be back. I'll try.
What'd you say, Donna?
I said, I don't know if we'll be back yet. I don't know if
Okay.
we're coming back in Wednesday night or Thursday morning, but as soon as we get back, I'll look. If we're
Okay.
back, I'll jump on.
Okay, no problem. All right.
Okay.
Okay, if there aren't any other questions, then we'll say goodnight for tonight. And I'll see y'all online then in the discussion board. All right?
Thank you, Dr. Cavin.
You bet.
Have a
Thank
good
y'all.
night.
Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
too.
Bye.